Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Low Budget Review Show. I am your host, Eric Smith, and today I'm talking about Silver Nitrate by Silvia Moreno-Garcia. This is from Del Rey. If you care about the logo, there it is. Silver Nitrate. I dig this cover. For a mass market hardback, some of these covers are pretty nice. So, what is this book about, you might ask? Well, it's about a cursed film, a cursed unfinished film, a Nazi occultist. Well, let me tell you. So what we have here, first of all, for the too long didn't watch crowd, I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. It's got so many elements of things I enjoy. Let me tell you what some of those things are. Our excuse me, our main character, I'm just going to call her Momo because I do not want to butcher her actual first name, and her friend calls her Momo. So Momo is a sound engineer, sound editor. She works in film, doing sound stuff, and she's a loner, and she's dealing with issues at work. It's a boys' club. This takes place in Mexico in 1993. So it's a boys' club. She's working fewer shifts, and so we're getting to know her. And her friend is Tristan, and he is a former telenovela star, model, voiceover actor, but there was some tragedy in his past, and now he's kind of washed up, even though he's still young. And so we meet him, and we get their dynamic. They were childhood friends. And so Tristan has moved into a new place. He keeps getting his neighbor's mail. And he gets different neighbors, I guess. Because one day he gets a piece of mail and he recognizes the name on it. It's someone who lives upstairs. But it's the name of this director that Momo was a huge fan of. Because the guy did some horror movies and Momo's a huge horror movie fan. And so Tristan takes the mail up to the guy. They start talking because Tristan knows who he is. And they're chatting, and the guy invites Tristan over for dinner on Saturday. He says, "Can I bring my friend Momo?" Guy says, "Yeah." So basically, this guy had a legendary unfinished film. There was never any footage. No one's ever seen any footage or anything. So Momo's asking him about this, and as we get into it, we learn that it was written, or at least co-written, by this guy who was an occultist in Nazi Germany, who came to Mexico, made friends with people in the film industry, and thought that he could use the medium of film to create spells. And this director feels, because they never finished this movie, that the film was unfinished because the guy, the Nazi occultist guy, was murdered. He thinks that his life has been cursed, and everybody else's life, everyone who's involved, their lives have been cursed because the spell was unfinished. He wants Momo and Tristan to help him finish the spell by dubbing a scene that was shot, that the final scene needed for the spell, but none of the dialogue or anything is in there, and things go crazy. I feel like I may have said too much, but this is all like early days in the book. So yes, so then things get wild. Now, Silvia Moreno-Garcia, fantastic author. Mexican Gothic was an amazing book. I have a bunch of her other stuff, haven't read all of it yet. But I was very intrigued by this one. Read it as soon as I got it, and because I like the idea of movies, Nazi occultists, always cool. And would it be Moreno-Garcia, the proper way to say it? If I'm not saying the whole name, Moreno-Garcia, just a fantastic writer, very literate writer. I think I'm using that correctly. She creates wonderful characters, both Momo and Tristan, and the director. I want to say his name is Abel. They're flawed characters. No one in this book is perfect, and the suspense builds, the story builds, and then things just go batshit crazy. And for those of you who watched my review of Pinata, I said that book reminded me of old zebra horror novels or paperbacks from hell kind of novels from the 70s or early 80s. And this does the same thing. It gets to a point where things are so insane that I'm reminded of the types of things from those 70s and 80s pulpy horror books. So I think Silvia Moreno-Garcia might just be a leader in the literate pulp subgenre. That's what I'm calling it. I don't know if there's a name for it. I don't know if it's a thing. All I know is Pinata and now this book have given me this feeling that I'm reading something very rich, very incredibly well written, very full-bodied, for lack of a better way to put it, and very literate. You know, I feel like I'm reading literature, capital L, but there's so many like really crazy, pulpy, wild horror elements to it. And this isn't in any way putting down just non-literate pulpy horror. See, that sounds horrible. But I'm trying to make, I feel that there's a distinction, while in no way feeling that there's a difference in my enjoyment or the quality of the work. Just a difference in the way they're written, if that makes sense. And this this gave me that feeling, the same feeling I got from Pinata. And it actually has the same, not the same structure so much, except that it's, the first half is kind of one way. The second half is when things really go crazy. And that's what we had in Pinata and in this. But man, it just blew me away. Such great characters, so well developed. The pace works in building the tension and then just going crazy. And there's twists and turns and surprises. And just, it's a 5 out of 5 star book. Silver Nitrate, Silvia Moreno-Garcia. I'm not sure what else to say. There's, you know, these Momo, Tristan, and Abel are not the only 3 characters in it. Momo has a sister who has cancer that she takes care of. Tristan has an ex-girlfriend. And there's other people. I'm not going to get into like every character in the book. But we do meet more. Some good guys, some bad guys, as they're figuring out what's going on with this unfinished, possibly cursed film and this possible Nazi occultist, because like he would tell different people different life stories. Just really fantastic. I think that covers everything I need to say about it. Lots of good blurbs on the back. A lot of great authors blurbing it. And now you can add me to that list saying, check out Silver Nitrate by Silvia Moreno-Garcia. 5 out of 5 stars. Fun cover. Fantastic story. Question for this video. What do you think of cursed movies? And there's 2 ways we can take this question. Do you like fiction about things like cursed movies? It's not an original idea. It's been done plenty of times, and I tend to find it very entertaining. Now you could go with like The Ring, with the videotape, or that's the one that pops up off the top of my head. I'm trying to remember Cigarette Burns. which I believe was John Carpenter's episode of Masters of Horror that had to do with a film. So there's that. So the fictional kind of entertainment about cursed films or cursed media, do you enjoy that? And then the other thing is, do you enjoy the true life stories of cursed films? There's a whole series about it. I think 2 seasons about it on Shudder. They talk about The Exorcist. I think Twilight Zone, the movie, was in that. I know there's something on Shudder about that, so it had to be in the cursed films thing. So, these movies where it seems that there have been a lot of accidents around the movie itself, around people involved in the film. There are people that believe that some movies are cursed or some productions are cursed. So do you believe in that? Or do you just find it entertaining to hear about? I watched the first season of Cursed Films or Cursed Movies, whatever it's called, on Shudder. I watched the first season. I may have watched the first 1 or 2 episodes of the second season. Just haven't gotten back to it yet. So yeah, I find it interesting. I don't actually believe it because I don't believe in curses. But it's as with, all sorts of things that I don't think are real. I still find them very entertaining. So yeah, I like cursed films. I like fictional media about cursed films and cursed media, and I like nonfiction about it, even though I think it's fiction, if that makes sense. But what about you? What do you think of cursed movies? Let me know in the comments below. If you have any comments, questions, or corrections, please put those in the comments below. Comments are open for spoilers. Just post a spoiler warning. We try to be polite here on my channel. Please like, share, and subscribe. All the usual YouTube stuff. If you'd care to follow me on other social media, my Twitter, I refuse to call it X, is @Ronan5757. My Instagram, where I post pictures of books, comic books, board games, and fuzzy animals, is EricSmith5757. That's Eric with a K, ERIKSMITH5757. And if you're on Blue Sky, I am @ELSmith. That's all I've got. This has been the Low Budget Review Show. I have been Eric Smith, and until next time, read more books.